So wait a second. You said let's go and have fun.
Yeah.
Don't we always have fun?
I don't know.
I was having fun before we hit record.
Do we? Well, yeah, but we don't want people to know what we were talking about.
No, we don't.
Terrible and disgusting.
It was political.
Some of it was, but I don't want people to think that we're political with each other. We talk business and we talk personal a little bit, but we don't really hide. We don't shelter our listeners.
No, we don't shelter them.
We talk about our families.
We talk about our listeners all the time.
It's for your own good, listeners, that we shelter you.
Exactly. Yeah. I have to take a drink of water because I've had too many root beer barrels.
Yeah, we're going to hear about that because that seems like it's a euphemism.
Yeah, I wish it was. I am partaking in Sober October, which, is it's nothing for any other reason than I just want to do it because why not? It's Sober October, and my biggest problem is if I stop drinking, which I have. When I don't usually drink during the week anyways, but so this just means on the weekends, which right now is a weekend, which is fabulous. Going off the subject just for a second because it is the first day in Nashville where when we got up this morning, it was in the 40s.
Woo!
I was so happy. Yeah.
Wow.
It was great.
Yes,
anyway,
you were.
So I'm not drinking this month. And when I don't drink, I tend to replace that with candy.
Really? And
so even during the week when I don't drink, I'm just popping candy all the time. So
as long as candy's not your neighbor, then you should be fine.
Excuse me. No, candy's not my neighbor. Candy is literally sitting in the bag right here. Root beer barrels.
Candy's in the bag again.
Candy's in the bag. At least someone's in the bag. I'm not. Not this month, anyway.
No. Well, fortunately, she's waiting for Movember with mustaches. Candy,
right.
Candy has a little bit of a
shave
lip
November.
Thing. Yeah, she has a lip thing.
Yeah, I've asked her to get it lasered, but
I bet you have. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I found that I'm eating a lot more candy. Last night Jen has a staff meeting once a month with her entire staff, and someone brought mini bundt cakes, and that was it's the first Saturday of the month. I was wondering why the
bundt cake. You didn't say mini butt cakes.
No, not butt
that
cakes.
Would be a whole different.
That's a whole different thing. That's
Saturday
night.
Tasty.
Right.
Oh, got it.
Anyway, first, sorry, folks, if you can hear the sirens going off. It is the first Saturday of the month here in Nashville, so we have the emergency siren tests going on right now. So
is that like for tornadoes, or what's it for?
Yes, tornadoes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's talk about warning systems, John. We didn't even prep for that one. Did your phone go off earlier this week? At a very inopportune. It was very scary. The worst part was I knew it was coming.
Yeah, me too.
I'd been waiting for it, and then I got into deep work, and then my phone because I have my phone. So right here's my camera I'm pointing at. My phone is right here charging.
Hey, just
and
FYI,
the speakers
we knew where your camera was. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Right here, this one.
Those of us, well, at least those of us on YouTube knew where your camera was.
Yeah, exactly.
Those of us listening
Spotify too. Don't forget Spotify.
No idea. I wouldn't forget Spotify. They have not sent my check recently, so
no. Yeah, I know they've been really bad about that.
I could ding them, but I'm not going to because they haven't sent the check.
They haven't sponsored us.
No, still. Yes.
Oh my goodness, John.
Yes. So I know.
So alerts. The alert went off.
The alert thing. I knew it too. I didn't recall what time it was going to be. Whatever. I did not sleep well the night before, so I was taking a nap. And guess who woke me up? Joe Biden woke me up.
Go figure.
Yeah, I know. It made me laugh. It was funny. And I was done with the nap anyway.
Well, it made me get so angry, I had to fire the speaker. That's all.
Wow. That'll teach Kevin McCarthy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I saw a meme, and this has nothing to do with anyone's politics, but I saw a meme where it had Kevin McAllister next to Kevin McCarthy. And it said, one of these two people was able to successfully protect his house.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
It was pretty good.
Couple of Kevin Max. Yeah, you gotta like it. That's hilarious. Somebody, can I just
for those
say,
of you who have never seen that movie, Home Alone,
knew.
Kevin McAllister, Home Alone. Yeah. Anyway,
people knew.
Just you gotta cover all your bases.
If I knew, people knew. Because this is why
It's
you
not
like
Goonies,
to have
right?
me on. Shut up. This is why you like to have me on, because I am like the benchmark. If John gets it, anyone will get it.
That is true.
I know.
Absolutely true.
I know. I am the baseline. I am the what do they call it in tests? I'm the
baseline
control group.
Control group. I see what you're getting at there. Yeah. I
Sorry.
do like baseline. We use baseline at work all the time.
Damn it. Smart people use baseline.
I'm not smart though. So obviously that's not true.
I use it in softball. That's really the only time I ever use that baseline.
Yeah, because you're still playing softball and never kind of graduated to baseball.
No, you know what? Softball. I never played baseball in high school.
I never played in high school.
Well, I would have liked to, probably.
I wasn't good enough.
Kind of had a team. I wasn't either. That was the one thing. They didn't invite me. Well, that's because you suck. But we played softball after high school, and we started, this is funny, we started with 16-inch balls. They're huge. And
those are huge balls.
If you have that, you might want to see a doctor.
Yeah.
But
that's definitely going to be part of the name. Huge balls.
They called it slow pitch back in those days.
And
the slow pitch, because
way back when,
underhanded. That's how you threw it. And initially, when that ball was used, it was a little softer than normal, and you didn't use gloves. Then we graduated to gloves, and the gloves were like peach baskets. They were huge. And then we stopped. We went to 14-inch balls and then 12-inch. And that was the softball that we actually ended up playing kind of competitively, I guess, after I was out of high school.
Yeah, they have softball championships, usually played by women.
But that's fast pitch. And it's fun to watch that too, because there are some ladies that can toss that damn ball.
Those are some athletes right there.
I really like watching that. That's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, ours was still slow pitch, was still underhanded. So you could often whack the heck out of the ball. But some of these were tough to hit. If you have I know a guy that would throw a 15-foot arc on an underhanded pitch.
Oh, wow.
You got to time it, to when it's coming down, because otherwise you're never going to get a swing at it. Many moons ago, but it was a lot of fun back in the day.
So I have a goal now, because you're talking about underhanded being used to be called slow pitch.
Yep.
Well, for all the comments that you and I give people, the underhanded comments, I want to call them slow pitch comments. Yeah. That's my goal.
I like it.
Slow pitch comments. So huge balls, slow pitch comments.
You can even maybe hyphenate it, like SLO pitch.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Kind of like drive through with a THRU.
Yeah. But should we shorten it to be just slow comments?
No,
well,
because
that takes a whole other.
Those are our listeners too. They have speedy comments. We have slow comments.
We do have slow comments.
Yeah. Eye-rolling comments.
I have massive eye-rolling comments. A lot. My eyes are probably in better shape than the rest of my body because I roll them so often.
Well, if you didn't eat so many root beer barrels, you'd probably be fine.
That's true. That is true.
Just kidding. I love root beer barrels. They're so good.
They're so good.
You got them where? Tell people where you got them.
Tractor Supply.
Because
I love me some Tractor Supply.
It's such a cool store.
It is.
In
Wisconsin. Harbor Freight's too far away.
Harbor Freight doesn't have the personality though. The Tractor Supply.
No. I love me some. It's a little more expensive than but it's kind of like the difference between Home Depot and Ace Hardware. I enjoy going into Ace Hardware. It's a little bit more expensive, but it feels like, and maybe that's because of where I grew up.
Yeah.
That's all we had. There was no Home Depot back when I grew up. It was the hardware store. And it usually was an Ace Hardware, at least where I grew up. And it was a lot smaller and a lot less commercialized as it is now. It was a true-to-life, old-fashioned hardware store.
If you
love those.
Pull out my driveway and turn left, less than a mile away is the biggest Ace Hardware I've ever seen.
Really?
And we love going in there. Nice people, because Ace Hardware, like all of them, it seems
Mhm.
like, have their training is way better. No offense, Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the big box
Right.
places, but these people will greet you the moment you come in.
Oh, yeah.
And ask you where they can take
Well,
you, what you're
you know,
looking for, and show you.
the other part of it too, and this is, I think, important, because while you might think of Ace Hardware in a similar vein as all of the other big box stores, they're actually franchises. So they're owned by, so ours is like Hearts.
Yeah,
Ace Hardware.
this is an MHT or something like that, or MCT or whatever. You're right. Yeah. But it still has the Ace brand,
right?
And they still are consistent with how they clearly train their people and all of that. But yeah, and the other good part about that is, you're right. You anticipate that it's going to be more expensive. We shopped around when we got the Blackstone griddle. And
Blackstone's different.
This was, no, it was kind of, I checked at Home Depot and I checked at Lowe's and then Ace, because I'd rather do business here. They were within $10 at Ace. And I said, done. And they had it all, they put it together. They did. I mean, it was a much better experience than I've had in the past. And again, not taking pot shots, because we do plenty of business at some of the big box places, but anyway, I enjoy Ace for sure.
So let's even go back a little bit further. And this, I don't know if this was the same for you, but I didn't have my Home Depot / Lowe's experience until much later in life, because where I grew up, it was Menards.
Us too.
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know where John Menard is from.
Right.
Wisconsin.
Oh, man.
He is.
I'm never going to share that.
Has been for many years the wealthiest man in Wisconsin.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
Family.
I didn't know that. And I pride myself on the fact, and my family drives them nuts. You want to see eye rolls. Anytime I know of something where I go, you know where that started? First thing that comes out of either my wife or Peyton's mouth, Minnesota. I'm like, oh, no. I've been getting them a few times. So that might be one of my, no, Wisconsin.
No, New Hampshire.
Yeah. You know where cheerleading was invented?
Candy?
No, University of Minnesota.
Okay. Was it?
Yep.
You know why? Because the fans were freezing their asses off at games. So they stood up and started swinging their jackets around. Well, cheering with jackets, and those turned into pom-poms, and that was,
Yeah.
I know the history. Yeah. No.
That's really good, John. You're a genius. That was one of my slow pitch comments.
It was very slow. Yeah. You embody that comment.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much.
Cheerleading. So at what place or where did that, some people say where did that start?
The University of Minnesota.
Oh, so there wasn't a high school someplace in Wayzata
not the Wayzata.
Whatever.
No, I can't be sure. I've always heard it was the University of Minnesota. I could be completely wrong. I just know that cheerleading supposedly has its history where it began in Minnesota. Same with indoor malls. Indoor malls started in Minnesota.
Well, again, good reason for that.
Yeah. No, that one, definitely. That one's a no-brainer.
Yeah. You know where outdoor malls didn't start? Winnipeg.
What a beautiful city, by the way. I don't know. Have you ever been to Winnipeg?
Oh, more than once. And it was less than, I don't recall it as such when I was there. And we're talking 20 years ago. It was the Chicago of the North is what they called it.
Really? And I wouldn't quite go there, but okay.
They did. But I understand. And I think you've mentioned it before that, it's become a nice city, and they're nice people because they're Canadians.
Of course.
It's like staffed with Canadians. Weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice.
That's where my stepfather went to college. He was in Winnipeg.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's one way to stop a conversation. I don't know why that stopped the conversation. My
stepfather went to college there. A guy at church, a new guy who's on our serving team, which is the guest experience team, doing a little shout out for the guest experience team at New Day.
King.
He nice guy. He was a physician in Canada,
Okay.
and 77 years old guy, looks low 60s. He looks really
Okay.
good and sharp guy and fun and has some good stories. But yeah, it was interesting talking a little bit about their medicine program versus what it's like in the States. And he's been in the States now for several years, and not unhappy that he is, just because of
that's exactly that's why my stepdad became my stepdad, is he moved from Canada to the United States because of socialized medicine.
Oh, I thought you meant looking for babes, looking for your mom.
No. He came down with a family already. But yeah, he came down because he didn't like where the medicine was going in Canada. So he came back down, then went and redid residency at the University of Minnesota, became a radiologist, and
redid residency. Seriously, he had the whole
redo
thing over again.
I don't know if it's the whole thing. I didn't get the full story.
2 years or something,
something like that.
Yeah.
Something.
Wow.
I just, all I know is he was doing residency at the university.
Cool.
Because my step brother, the youngest of his 4 kids, got a bad burn on his leg, and he was in the hospital, but Murray couldn't be there because he was doing his residency. So I honestly don't know the whole story behind that one. We never really talked about that. So yeah, that's awesome. I actually, somewhere in here, maybe it's downstairs now, I actually have an old folder of his, and it is a whole bunch of old autopsy reports from when he was redoing his residency in Minnesota.
Wow.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it's a stack. It's probably got 100 pages in it.
Wow.
And it's just all, it's interesting. All
not creeper stuff, just interesting stuff, not creeper.
It's just, no, not creeper stuff. It's very interesting. A lot of people who died of heart failure, not heart failure. Was it heart failure?
That would probably be my guess.
Well, it was another word for it, because basically he said they got old and their heart stopped. It wasn't, they didn't have a heart attack. Their heart just stopped. They died. But on the paper, it had to say something like heart failure.
Or the usual.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't. Yeah, I don't think they could put old age.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny how things change over time, or even just the descriptions of that.
Right.
We had a neighbor when I was growing up, Grandpa Gould. He wasn't my grandpa. He was not, but everybody called him Grandpa Gould.
Grandpa Gould.
And he was probably low 90s, I would think, at least in my memory he was. And he, at some point, had what they called back then hardening of the arteries. So he was having some mental issue, and so now we've come to know it, maybe as a debilitative, like Alzheimer's, or something like that. And no, he's got hardening of the arteries, and we're like, why? Wow, that sucks.
Yeah, it sounds a lot more drastic than
what makes
Alzheimer's.
that happen? Yeah.
Speaking of Alzheimer's, I don't know if you've seen this. They've been popping up in my Instagram. Well, you haven't, because you're not on Instagram anymore.
Sorry.
But it's been popping up in my Instagram feed. Different things in the Netherlands that people are doing for old folks. One of them is they actually have a grocery line where they purposely slow things down and have conversations with people. So you can go into a fast line, or you can go into the slow line so you can talk to somebody. And it's mostly directed towards the elderly. Then they've built a community that has everything that you'd need in it, like a grocery store and all this stuff. And it's, people can, I don't know exactly, I don't remember exactly what it was, if they have houses or if it's in an apartment complex or whatever, but the people in the community that are not elderly, or they're not Alzheimer's, they're actually hired to be there, and they're all nurses for Alzheimer's patients. But it's to keep the people in that community active and like their regular, but it's all very contained and very self-controlled, because all of the patients are Alzheimer's patients. And that's also in the Netherlands. Yeah.
But it's outside.
Yeah.
It's like an outdoor.
At least the picture they showed it's like a little town square.
Oh, maybe right after the photographer left, they said, "Okay, get back inside now."
Probably, yeah, lock them back in their rooms.
I'm just guessing, yeah.
Yeah.
But the slow line at the groceries, that's kind of a neat idea.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's not like we don't have them here. It's just the one I'm always in.
Right. Right. Well, so that's because you can't stop talking.
I
Hey,
don't
have you heard
talk.
of PoddiMouths?
It's just people in the front of me. They're just like, you take rolls of quarters, and this is how did I get this line?
I feel bad for
Come
you.
on.
I had to go shopping yesterday, and I swear it was and I'm not making fun of old people.
Yes, you are.
I
This
am.
is what Nick always says before he starts making fun of old people.
Right. Well, I'm not trying to make fun of old people, but
This
I
is
swear
plausible.
it was old people's day out. It was the elderly's day out, because when I was at the grocery store, it
Yes.
was nothing but old people, and it was like everywhere I needed to be, someone was just standing there, just staring at the the shelves, just standing there, just kind of. I'm like, okay, I'll go get something else and come back 5 minutes later, and they're still.
Do you need help reaching something?
If they needed help reaching something, it was. I mean, these shelves are low. It was a Publix, not a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Publix, not a sponsor.
I'm not going to ding them.
That's the not a sponsor ding, though.
Fine.
Thank you.
Quiet ding.
Yeah. So their shelves aren't nearly as high. At least ours aren't here.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was very interesting. It was a very slow process yesterday getting through the grocery store. And the reason I was at the grocery store, folks, is back to what did we mention on the podcast?
Because you needed
already?
Groceries?
Well, no, we were having the staff meeting.
Oh, you mentioned something about that. Yeah, I saw the outcome.
Yeah, so Jen has a staff meeting once a month with her staff.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I actually took the day off yesterday, or at least part of the day off. Mainly, well, okay, so just to be fair, next week is Peyton's fall break, and I normally take fall break off with Peyton to spend time with her. We might go camping, we might just hang out, we might explore, whatever. But we have an event here in Nashville for work that I can't miss, so I couldn't take it off. But she was also off on Friday, so I took Friday off to spend time with her. So
nice.
Not that it makes up for an entire week, but at least it's one day that I could spend time with her. But that also allowed me to do the one thing I like to do with Peyton, and that is cook, because that was what I got to do with my mom growing up. And so we decided to, because normally it's a potluck, people bring stuff, and this time decided that I would make everything. So
nice.
I did that, and that was the picture I sent you, was everything that we made. The salad skewers that you see, those are all Peyton, 100% Peyton. She did those, and
wow, good for her.
Yeah,
that girl,
she's so talented. But anyway, that was what we did yesterday. And besides having to go to the Apple store and get Jen a new computer. Yep, there it is. So the things in the front, those are BL, call it a deconstructed, I guess, BLT. And then there's the little wonton cups over there. Are you talking to me? No, just hold it there.
My
it's
arm's
okay.
getting sore.
Wonton cups with yeah, there you go. With artichokes, and then we had
cool.
had French dip sliders and meatball sub sliders, and then up in the very far back, those are avocado toasts with some tomatoes on there.
Good for you guys.
It was good.
They really look delicious. They are pretty impressive. Nice work.
Yep. So but other than that, like I said, I had to go to the Apple store to get Jen's computer fixed, which back way up, her computer was actually my old laptop before I got the one that we're recording on right now, which was a little bit slower because it was off the shelf. Mine is a custom build.
Of course.
So I because she doesn't do as much content stuff as I do. I gave her the other laptop because it was a fairly new laptop. And it was in decent shape then. But I found out very quickly, because she started complaining that the keyboard wasn't working correctly. Like it would give double letters, or sometimes it wouldn't work. Well, it turns out that particular model was known to have that issue. Well, and they actually had a recall on it.
But also very susceptible to root beer barrels.
Right.
So they melt
I didn't
in
have
there.
root beer barrels then. I haven't had root beer barrels in years. No, it was probably jujubes.
Oh, well, that makes more sense.
Yeah. There's a reason I don't have any fillings.
Yeah.
So the keyboard was gone back. I looked it up, and it had a recall type thing. I know they didn't call it a recall, but it was basically they would replace the keyboard for free.
Okay.
So I go to the Apple store, I make an appointment. I go to see a genius, and he's saying, yes, it had that, but you had to get it replaced within 4 months or something of purchasing it.
Apple
It didn't start breaking until 2 years after I purchased it.
Of course.
Yeah. So now he said I can replace some keys, but we can't replace the keyboard without charging you. But let me run some other tests. So he did a whole bunch of other tests, and he said, the reason I want to do this is because sometimes if the battery's failing with this particular machine, when they replace the battery, they automatically replace the keyboard. So that gets you out of having to spend money on replacing the keyboard. So I'm like, cool. So he runs the test, and the battery, so I guess failing for a battery is somewhere under 70%. And that computer hit 69%, but it wasn't showing failing.
Oh.
So he couldn't get the keyboard replaced.
Come on.
Or the battery replaced. Jeez. Until it hits failing. So he's like, well, you could take it home, charge it up, drain it, charge it up, drain it, and then bring it back, and hopefully it'll fail, and then we can do all of that. And I'm like, how much does it cost to fix it? And he told me that price. And then I said, how much should we give for me to trade it in? And so he said, this is what I'll give you. I'm like, we're going to trade it in. So I got Jen a new laptop because that one, waiting for it to fail, it's going to fail at the absolute wrong time. Jen will be in the middle of a performance week, so she can't give up her computer.
Yep.
And trying to get it to fail at the same time isn't really going to work. And the fact that it's going to fail,
yeah.
So, she's like, you know what? I don't really want to spend the money right now. I'm not going to spend it. It's her money because it's her business. So I told her, here's the receipt. You write it off. But yeah, it was time to get her a new computer, which is for me very disappointing because I have over here in my closet, I have a laptop that technically still works from 2007. That's a Mac. I've got iMacs. I've got, all old computers. The Macs I buy because they last a long time.
Yes. But at some point, don't they usually stop supporting?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they do.
And so this is
but they a long time. Like they just stopped supporting one of my iMacs that was a 2015.
Okay, so it's 8 years old. If the thing's still working, it just seems to me like, well, you know what? It's still working. We should support that rather than saying, it's still working. You're so lucky. Now you're not. And boom, they pulled the plug.
There are workarounds to get it further along in the updates. I'm not that smart. I don't do that, but I know people. We have one that's sitting on the desk right now. That's a 2012. And it's not still supported, but it was supported further beyond its life because of this other person who's really smart. But
I bought an iPad, and this is some years ago, and it was within 6 months. And it was a cheap. I got it someplace that was some special deal or whatever.
Yeah,
still new in box, but I think it was probably 2 or 3 years old or something like that. That may have something to do. That may be a part of the story, but
sure.
I could not.
I have one of those too.
I couldn't do any updates.
Oh, really?
It would not let me update the damn thing at all.
Interesting.
So I just gave it to my brother and said, use it for your Sonos system or whatever at home, and that's what he ended up doing. And it was a total piece of crap because you couldn't just bring it.
So a couple of things that are really cool about that stuff. You can still trade that in. So you can. Now, you're not going to get a ton of money for it, but you can trade it in.
The deal that you got to get this, hey, look at this. It's an iPad for $200. Oh, this is a great deal. Oh, no, we don't support that. But we'll give you $40 as a trade-in on the $700 one.
That example is valid. And I understand your feelings. But let's say you bought that iPad brand new, and you used the shit out of it.
Yep.
You can still trade it in for something else and get a little bit of that value back, just like you would a car. Now, the other thing is, even though they're not supported, there are other uses for it. I have a first generation iPad, the very first one that came out. It still turns on to this day. It doesn't work because it's not supported, but you know what does work? Photos.
The power.
The power. But photos still work. So I cleaned it off, put all the photos on there, and now it's a frame.
Come on.
I'm just saying there are other uses for
anything. I get that, but why the hell should I have to find other? I didn't buy a photo frame. I can get one of those for $20 over.
You got to think about technology, though. You got to think about technology.
It's not about technology. Why are they not supporting? No, why are they not supporting it?
No, you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong about that side of it, but I'm saying when it comes to an Apple product like the iPad 1, it still works. No, it is not supported anymore, but it's also 13 years old.
The point is, it doesn't work. So you can say
it works.
It still powers up, but it doesn't work.
It has a different function.
No.
You're missing the point, John.
No,
you're missing the point.
The point is what Apple would try to sell me on.
No, okay. Let me put it in a different context. If you got a PC tablet, PC tablet
I'm not
also
saying PCs are any better because they're not.
No, none of them are. None of them are, and that's my point.
Yeah.
A PC tablet, I probably couldn't make into a frame. It probably wouldn't last 13 years and still be able to be used as a frame. I'm not justifying the fact.
Fine point. But the truth is, I didn't buy a effing photo frame.
I know.
If I wanted,
your example is valid. I'm saying
the point is that if you're not going to support it, okay, that's fine. But it's only that lack of support that prevents it from working.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So if it doesn't work for me for what I intended it to do, then it doesn't work, period. You can say, I can let's realign this or let's use it for something. I mean, of course you're right. And I won't go on anymore about this because I don't dislike Apple. I just, when you get an iPhone, for example, and you have an iPad, it makes sense to have an Air. It makes sense to have everything that's consistent.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's Apple or Google or whatever. It just makes sense when you've got that ecosystem.
They handshake. That's exactly right. They handshake. And so my Android phone, and could I go with or without a PC? Sure, but it just doesn't. They don't play well together. They don't play nicely together, Apple and Android. Whether it's a phone or whether it's an iPad to a phone or whatever. It's just I wish they could get along better, but that's the business. That's what they're there to sell more stuff.
And that's the bottom line right there. Why do they stop supporting? That's why.
I don't blame them. Of course that's why, because if they want you to buy a new one, they're not going to. And it does them some good too, because then you have the latest technology, which is always going to perform at a much higher level than the stuff that's 8 or 9 or 10 years old. So there's no doubt, and I get the reasoning behind it, but for every action there's a reaction, and you kind of have to say, is it worth this to do this?
Right.
And that's really a good lesson for all of us. Every business class I've ever taken, you have to weigh one versus the other. And if you decide to do something, there are usually outcomes that are going to say, that was a good decision, or maybe not. Or maybe what you anticipated was collateral that you can afford to lose, or you can, say, I don't need that.
Do you ever, I will admit before I ask this question that I do enjoy a good conspiracy theory. Not because I necessarily believe in conspiracies, but I just enjoy the story behind them, right? And where, so I that was my question. Do you ever follow some of the conspiracy theories out there, or things like time travel? People's stories about those who have time traveled.
Those not so much, and the alien stuff not so much.
Okay.
I mean, and it's not that I necessarily disbelieve. It's just that there are certain things.
It's entertainment. It's enjoyable.
Well, some it is, and as long as you have that mindset, I think it's good to do. What some people do though is whenever they hear, they will latch on. I heard it on the internet, so it's true, and that's what they latch on to, and suddenly this becomes your MO. Discernment is one of the greatest gifts we can have.
Agreed.
And if you can look at that stuff and say, you know what, I kind of see where they were going, or you can say that was a total waste of time.
Well, and you know what, every story has a thread of truth. It might be minuscule, but there's some truth behind. Anyway, that's a different conversation. The reason I'm asking that question, because of what we were talking about when it comes to technology, there is a story of a time traveler who, wow, it didn't do it.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
There you go. Time traveler who,
honestly, it was worth every penny just because it does that.
It really was. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Continue.
The time traveler came back in time and started discussing things on a thread, like I don't remember what it was, like what's the big one? I'm a part of it. I just don't post anything there, like Facebook. A subreddit, a Reddit, Reddit. Something like that. But it was a little bit older. Someone had come back. He came back in time to the 90s to get his hands on an IBM machine that was running a certain level of DOS on it.
Okay.
Because the technology in the future, like I guess another 30 years in the future, was too advanced and to control a certain something. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was a power grid or if it was weapons or something like that. They had to have a certain machine that had a certain driver, not a driver, but a certain piece of hardware in it that they didn't use anymore.
See, I would bring it back to the future. Like that. Yeah. See, I could jump aboard that, but is it reality?
Probably not.
Probably
I wouldn't think
not.
it was.
I mean,
I wouldn't latch onto it, but
not unless Jeff Goldblum is in it. Then he's kind of a fly when he gets out. But other than that,
exactly. Well, the interesting thing is that story was not created or was not told by anyone who is an engineer, because they can trace back to the origin of that, and they can't figure out if this person on the other end, the time travel, was a true engineer or not. Because the computer that they were talking about is a very obscure machine. Like not very many were made. And you would have to have an engineering degree or have to have been part of the team that built it to know about the part that he was talking about.
Interesting.
Which I found very interesting.
Well, and that adds to it, though. That makes it even more believable. And if there's a shred of a chance, that's awesome.
I just thought it was, since we were talking about computers, and I just thought that was interesting because
now if you went back and while I'm doing that and I'm grabbing that detail of material that I need or whatever, the different program, I'm also going to invest in Apple.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you can't change the timeline, John. Yeah. Haven't you watched Back to the Future?
Yes, I did. And Mr. Fusion and I in my car are now just put some bananas in and I'm good to go, baby. I got your flux capacitor right here.
I'll show you my flux capacitor. Have you seen? Do you know who Josh Gates is?
Who Gates?
Josh Gates.
No, I do not. No.
Okay, so he's got a program. I think it's on the Travel Channel. You can find him on Discovery Plus. He's got a bunch of different programs. He's an archaeologist, or at least he plays one on TV. He actually did a Back to the Future series where he and Christopher Lloyd had to go back to the future to get all of this memorabilia, and so I think they were building a DeLorean, or they were getting all the DeLoreans, trying to find the original. Cool. It's just a fun. If you guys ever get a chance to watch it, I think it's on Discovery, and it's Back to the Future with Josh Gates or something like that. But I don't remember. It's the name of his show, but it's Back to the Future. So anyway,
awesome. That's awesome.
I would highly recommend checking that program out. It's really corny. I made Peyton watch it with me. Especially if you're a Back to the Future fan, it's a lot of fun.
And I didn't see. I guess maybe I did see most of them, but the first one is obviously the classic. But even just watching it now is so difficult. 1980. Who's the president in 1980? Ronald Reagan, the actor.
Yeah, it's really funny to put it into context. And this is an aging thing. Someone said back in 1985, he went back to 55. He went back to 55. That's 30 years. So if you went back to the future today, you'd go back to 1993.
Yes, which would be weird.
It is very weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that. I mean, that does not seem like a long time ago.
Back. No,
it's not.
I was younger and handsome back then.
I had hair.
Yes, yeah, there.
But it just boggles the mind. I mean, I can't even think that the year 2000 was 23 years ago.
I know. That's amazing.
It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Time
pretty
flies.
amazing. Sure does.
And part of that is
go ahead.
It has. Well, as it has done for eons, but I do think technology has made it speed up in our minds a lot more than even back in our my parents' age and yours too, I'm sure.
Watching and I told you this, that sometimes when I'm having a hard time falling asleep, I'll watch Perry Mason, the old TV, from the 50s and early 60s. And it's entertaining to watch because you just forget the technology that we take for granted. I mean, the dial phones and the old 1950s Chevys and Fords, and it's just so much fun to watch that. But you go, wow, the acting is terrible.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. Time is amazing.
It is that.
I would love the ability. I don't think I'd ever want to go back and interact with anybody, but I would love some sort of way to just go back and look at things that happened in the past. Yeah. Just be a watcher.
Try Perry Mason.
Oh, yeah. It's a good start.
Prime Video. It is.
I don't know if I'd go that far back.
Yeah, that's quite a ways. Quite a ways back. That's for sure. There's some hot actresses, though. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Back then. I mean, and I can say that because they're all dead now, but
but they're not hot anymore.
Probably less so. But
they went on a diet.
That was clearly a part of the show. And these a lot of them, some you would recognize, and actors too, obviously, but young and not great actors, but they were attractive, and it was clearly that was kind of the MO.
That was the goal.
Then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So at time flies, as it does
time flies
on PoddiMouths today.
Right. And it's can you believe it, folks? It's time to wrap things up.
What?
I think that's what John was getting at. He's sick of me already.
Segue.
Yeah. Segue. No, I don't need a segue. I don't like segues. I wouldn't mind a hoverboard.
On that note.
See ya!
This is why I can't do podcasts on my own.
Head up to PoddiMouths.com. Check out all of our past episodes. Buy some merch. Help us maintain this podcast for another 5 years. We're almost done with our 5th year.
Whew.
About to start season 6.
Good golly.
We'll just have to make it to the end of the year, but it's close because it is October.
Sure
it's sober October. At least for me, not John. John's drunk right now.
Oh, hammered.
All right, everyone. Have a great... Oh, I needed to add this because I promised TJ. He's been a part of the episode, the last now 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But we had mentioned the 40-year-old virgin. Mm-hmm. And he has a tie to the person who is actually, I've got to look it up. I'm sorry, TJ, I'm probably butchering it because it was over a week ago that I saw this, but I believe he has some sort of family tie to the person who was doing the waxing during that scene.
You're kidding. The lady?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't remember what it is. TJ, I'm sorry. I'll look it up again later. Don't have time now because it is the end of the episode, but
we should talk to TJ and find out.
We should.
Get her take on it from him. Wouldn't that be funny?
Oh, it would be hilarious. We should do that. We'll plan on that. TJ, you're going to have to start letting us know your schedule because you're in Australia. And then the last shout out goes to Mr. Eric. You know which Eric I'm talking about because he said, because I talked to him earlier this week, he said, you guys should do a live program so we could have a call in. And I'd say, well, Eric, I don't know how many people will call in. He's like, I call in every week.
Oh,
fair enough. So we'll have to have Eric call in.
Another Minnesota boy. Jeez.
Nope, different Eric.
Oh, different Eric. Who's
different
this Eric?
Not that Eric. I'll tell you later.
Come on, it's a secret, Eric.
It's a secret. He knows.
Okay.
He knows. He does.
Can't wait for him to visit our radio show because he's going to call in every week. Eric, is this you again? It's going to be like Frasier.
First time listener, last time caller, something like that.
Something like that.
No, first time caller, last time listener.
Never listening again.
No, never listening again. All right, folks. Hopefully you'll keep listening.
Please.
Yeah, do that next week. Yeah, and watching. That's
Do
good
it.
too. Yeah. All right. Take it easy, John. Talk to you later.